right. Welcome to the fourth and final review of the evening. Up this time is Sword and Soldiers 2, Shawarmageddon. Yet you will not find tasty Middle Eastern dishes here. I'm like,
Aww.
Anyway, not sure where I was going with that. When you have a thought and then it leaves. Right. So last week Petty reviewed the first installment in the Sword and Soldiers series. Mind you, that does technically consist of only 2 games and some DLC, but 2 games is a series. Not a big series, but a series nonetheless. Anyway, Sword and Soldiers 2 is, like its predecessor, a side-scrolling real-time strategy game, which has an interesting origin in that this was initially developed to be an exclusive to the Wii U. The Wii U eShop, granted, in 2015, apparently. So, bold, if nothing else. Like, one might say suicidal. Given, we are talking about the Wii U ecosystem in, the year of 2015. Wasn't exactly the most healthy or robust environment for really any game. Like, granted, Sword and Soldiers 1, I think, was a luminary of the original WiiWare. But I suppose it doesn't really matter because Sword and Soldiers 2 did manage to break away from the dire shores of the Wii U and has appeared on, platforms that actually sold better than the Wii U. So, thankfully, this game isn't yet lost to the sands of time, though, given that the creator of the game is no longer in business, one has to wonder how long that will stay the case. I do think I pontificated that last week. Anyway, so Sword and Soldiers 2 retains a lot of the basic gameplay of the first Sword and Soldiers game. It's not the easiest thing to say. It's an RTS on the side, and it's very, very simplified. Basically, baby's first RTS game here. Like, I'd say this would make a really good novice entry into the genre. And also, it's something that works well enough on consoles. Because it's not really too concerned with things like positioning. Like in a proper traditional PC real-time strategy game, like, it's a lot more automatic. I think that's a good way of putting it. In terms of its troop movements. I mean, there's still strategy to be had here. I mean, you still do the very basics of real-time strategy planning here, as in there is resource, in this case gold. You've got to go mine it. You use that resource to build up troops and buildings. Um, it, and in a additional feature new to Sword and Soldiers 2, I believe, this one actually has a skill tree. It's a pretty simple skill tree, but I don't think that was in the first one. Petty, did you see a skill tree in the first game?
More like a build tree,
Petty?
but not.
Right.
Sorry about that. I forgot to move over. I didn't see as much of a skill tree as more of a build tree. So it might be a new thing for this installment. Like there were skills you could build, but nothing that like lasted like a true skill tree.
Okay, yeah, this one has one of those in the sense that you unlock skills. Like it's going through like the main single player missions will unlock the skills, and then you will use those skills in what they call the skirmish mode. Like you'll find enemy troops wandering across the map, and if you can engage those, you'll be able to take all the skills skills, soldiers, and buildings. They're all mixed in together into 3 tiers. And you can select up to 4 of each tier. Now, you're not going to be able to select like 4 tier 3 skills right out the gate. That will come with some time. And of course, you will get more than 4 entries to a tier. And the meta planning in terms of skirmish mode is what skills do you bring to the table that will allow you to be victorious. In like the storyline missions, it's a lot more straightforward because your skills are a lot more automated. At least in certain parts. Like sometimes, it'll just be like a portion where you can only use like the skill, like the lightning skill that you'll unlock. Also worth noting, the actual magic skills, they require mana, which is your other resource. You get mana back by building mana towers. And also you can find gold and mana in chests that you can send your peons to gather. And you get a couple of different kinds of troops. Like the initial 2 Viking troops are the axemen and the spear guys. I forget the internal names for them. And this game does replace 2 of the factions from Sword and Soldiers 1. The Vikings return from the first game, but in this you will also play as the Persians and the demons. In the campaign mode, the demons are your foes, though you will also be fighting other Vikings, though kind of presented as pirates, but they are still Vikings, so Viking pirates.
Vikings and zombies are natural enemies, like Vikings and Persians, or Vikings and demons, or Vikings and other Vikings.
Yeah. Though interestingly enough, like the Persians, sometimes you'll fight them. Sometimes they can be your allies. Like you can unlock Persian units for your skill tiers. And there is a multiplayer mode, but wasn't able to try that because, once again, Petty Fan's eye, so I couldn't speak to that, unfortunately. It is worth noting that this game does boast a number of biomes like tundra, forest, deserts, and so on and so forth. Here's the thing. They don't really matter. granted, there's a lot of RTS games where, things like the weather and like actual topography aren't really part of the planning. Especially like going back to the golden age RTS, they weren't really concerned about terrain. That was more the domain of strategy games. Interestingly enough. And that is to say, turn-based strategy games. Not sure how much of that is in like the modern RTS scene. Like if Age of Empires 4 or Company of Heroes 3 worry about weather effects, it sounds like the kind of thing that modern RTSs should be concerned with, but that's a discussion for another day. Anyway, how to rate Sword and Soldiers 2? Well, there's kind of two trains of thought here. In terms of like a pure RTS experience, I'd say give this a pass, especially on PC, because there are better, and this is key, more robust options. Just to cite one example, the Command and Conquer collection, remastered collection, isn't much more expensive than this. I think it's like $15, $20, and that goes on sale for as little as $3 pretty regularly. But as an entry level, or if you're planning to pick this up for, say, the Switch or the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation ecosystem, I guess, at this point, this is a much easier recommend, because, I will grant the movement options. I'm hoping that the Nintendo Switch version at least uses the touchscreen, because, even though this is a simplified real-time strategy game, it's still the kind of game that works best with a cursor setup. It's still going to play best on the PC because you can use a mouse to click all the menu options fairly quickly, as opposed to a stick, which is going to be far less precise and speedy. That's just a thing that's inherent to the control methodology. But I think that Sword and Soldiers 2 here is simple enough where such things are not that much of a concern. Certainly not compared to, like, if you were playing, Age of Empires or Company of Heroes on a console platform. And, you can, or you will be able to do that, depending on the game, here soon. Though, I'll be honest, if there's a genre more perplexing to me to play on a console than, say, an FPS, it's an RTS. Because, you want to talk about genres that were just really born on computer devices. This is one of them. But once again, that's a discussion for another day. In terms of pricing, this game ropes in at $9.99, $10. Which, once again, that's a fair price for Sword and Soldiers 2. It's a perfectly cromulent game. Just, if you're looking for a really deep tactical experience, once again, go pick up like an Age of Empires title. That's not what this game was going for. Right. So, any questions, comments, or concerns over Sword and Soldiers 2 here?
I think I'm probably good.
So yeah, that'll about do it for this installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. So coming up on the week ahead. Right. So once again, we are kind of touch and go with things with the state of Petty Fans I right now. But currently we are the Quake 2 multiplayer is scheduled for this Wednesday. We will see how that plays out. We do have a Friday show happening this week. On Friday, September 15th, we will be welcoming Unepic Fran of Fran Games. So Unepic Fran has worked on 4 games, a couple of which we've actually reviewed on the show a few years ago. He is the creator of the games Unepic, Ghost 1.0, Mini Ghost, and most recently Unmetal. We will be talking about the probably primarily Unmetal on Friday. And we do have a new installment of Moonhawk Studios Presents planned for this week. Right, so until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.